Our next speaker is the CEO of a company called Lift&Co. It's kind of like a Yelp for cannabis products. They operate the world's leading review platform for federally legal cannabis products. So without further ado, please welcome the CEO, Matei Olaru.
Good morning, everybody. It's almost lunchtime, so get ready for the most exciting presentation of the day. My name is Matei Olaru. I am the CEO of Lift&Co. I am a corporate lawyer by background, and the company that we've been running has really had an incredible trajectory, and it's sort of mirrored the onset and trajectory of the legal cannabis industry. When you think of medical cannabis as a space, we netted out about 300,000 patients before the market went rec. And this company had a phenomenal growth trajectory for what was a relatively small market at the time, about 20 to 30 producers and 300,000 or so legal cannabis consumers. And in anticipation of the recreational market, which we're now in for about a month, the company went public on the venture exchange just 2 months ago to really get ready for what we believe to be worldwide momentum that's going to start here in Canada. If you think of this industry that just came online, it's got some very interesting aspects to it. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry that started for the first time that's in the business of selling CPG goods. It's a brand new CPG industry with some very interesting characteristics. Namely, you can't advertise the product you're selling. You can't discuss what the product you're selling really does. And you're communicating this limited piece of information to a demographic that doesn't understand the category because it's been prohibited for 95 or so years. And by the way, as you're communicating those things, you're relying on a middleman, either a private or public actor, to communicate your brand's propositions and those great things about your product. It doesn't really make sense. So what we've built is what we like to call internally a platform as a service for this brand new industry, and really targeting what we think are the most valuable stakeholders: your consumers, your producers, and your retailers. Specifically, what we do is we help bridge those asymmetries in communication and information between these three consumers through information. We have a Lift&Co platform. Think of it as TripAdvisor. We used to say Yelp. Now we view ourselves closer to a TripAdvisor because what we do is we facilitate those connections between your customer who's looking for a certain effect, a certain experience, and the retailers and the producers that sell those products. And in the meantime, through those connections, we collect an immense amount of data on those interactions. Today, Lift&Co has gathered what we believe is the largest data set of federally regulated cannabis consumers, producers, and retailers. We can tell you as a producer today, here are 1,000 females that live in Toronto. They like sativa-like products and tend to consume them on Saturdays between 9 and 5 p.m. with a vaporizer. This segment reviews your product A in the top 10% reviewed products on our platform for relaxation. Did you know that there's 1,000 females that look like this in BC? And they're not actually reviewing your product. We think there's a marketing insight there. We can target them through our rewards program or a review platform or a leading series of events and get that message in front of them. And then track it through our data and see, did you really move the needle? And can you now sell your product better to more people by saying things that the regulations actually prevent you from doing? When you look at our business, we really fit into 3 buckets of assets. The main asset I've described already is on Lift&Co. It is the largest resource of federally regulated cannabis products in the world. And that's an important distinction because when you think future state to the Germanys of the world, it always starts with a medical system regulated at the federal level and then distributed throughout. So when you think of the first products moving into Germany, they're products from Canadian LPs, and in fact, we've already started gathering some reviews from German products. And it's this competitive advantage that differentiates us from a Leafly or a Weedmaps And it goes one step further by actually giving data that's relevant to a producer selling a product. So when you think of producers as CPGs, the Unilevers of the world, they need that data to understand who their customer is, who is buying the product, and what product to innovate on next. We started this industry, as I mentioned at the start of my talk, at a very small scale. And we entered that space with what are now the largest trade shows for the Canadian industry, and have used that asset, which is now a leading series of consumer-facing events, to really aggregate those first companies under our banner and begin building trust with them. And really what these trade shows do, our most recent one having reached over 20,000 consumers here in Toronto in May, they build a great Rolodex for us to upsell our events business attendees and our businesses that come to these events to the data solutions that we gather and the marketing solutions that we offer. Very exciting on the forefront for us is this new retail environment. If you think of that flywheel I showed earlier, you have your consumers, your retailers, and your producers. Retailers are a huge component of this new market. And really, when a consumer walks into a retail location, we see this in the US, they're beholden to the advice of that bud tender. People don't know what to buy, so the retailer says, okay, well, why don't you try this thing? So we thought a year ago, okay, we need to control that conversation if we want to control the purchase between a buyer and a producer. So we sought out in 2017 to partner with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, who today are our exclusive partner in training retail workers across the country. We have publicly announced we're in 2 provincial government contracts already for multiple years, and we're in a number of private retailers as well, including the largest, such as Delta 9, who's a Canopy partner in Alberta, and some big US operators that are entering the space here in Canada. But what this really does is it provides us direct access to those bud tenders. They now trust us. They are certified by Lift&Co. And that certification lives on a learning management platform that is updated in real time. So when the CPG companies of the world want to have continuity of message from their billboards to the retailer, we as Lyft have the platform that puts that message in front of these bud tenders. And in fact, if you look at Nova Scotia, which is our first provincial contract that we announced, we are training every single staff member in every single store in that province. And every single store in that province is a government-owned store. We essentially have exclusive speaking rights to every bud tender in that province. So when you look at our platform, what we do is we connect and aggregate those connections. We monetize them as marketing channels and gather that data to only use it to upsell and provide insights into the market. In terms of our traction to date, Lift&Co is the largest platform of its kind, and it's been exhibiting some exciting growth. And it's worth mentioning that all these numbers, if you look at the footnotes, are pre-legalization. The company started in 2014 as a blog, and today is the trainer of governments and is the largest platform of its kind. Really what we worked towards on this slide was getting ready for the recreational market, which we're now tackling head on, providing market data, building extremely sticky connections, and acting as a thought leader for both the government and private actors. We've begun to monetize and tested those marketing solutions backed by data insights in the medical system and are now pushing full steam ahead in the recreational market. And since we started as that blog, we first raised our capital in fiscal 16 and have since raised $13 million to date, getting us to our public listing just 2 months ago. In our last fiscal year, we exhibited over 100% year-over-year revenue growth, and we're very excited for the growth that will be coming now with a much larger market using our services and the worldwide momentum that we see upcoming. The executive team, I have a corporate legal background by training, which is why we've positioned our business to really bridge those gaps created by the regulations, an experienced technology and finance team, and a board of directors that has cut their teeth in several public companies, including Fairmont and Sears. And our audit committee chair most recently served as the audit committee chair for MedRelief. It is an exciting time for this industry, and you will hear exciting growth stories from everyone. And when you think of the producers and the retailers starting in this space, think of us as that needed conduit for them to do business. But for Lift, products cannot be described the way they are today, and but for Lift, these companies do not have the marketing insights they need to run their business and actually capture the billions of dollars that are projected to go into this space. Thank you very much.